Good morning, everybody. This is Nicholas Teo from CMC Markets here in Singapore. Today, the 27th of May. A few things to talk about. It's all been currencies actually overnight, and everything was centered around the strength in the US dollar. We saw early strength in the trade yesterday here in Asia, but that was actually followed through very nicely with a very strong economic number, specifically the durable goods number that we saw coming out last night, beating forecasts. And also with good revisions up for previous months. So this basically allowed the basically saw the euro dollars being sold off together with the Canadian dollar and also the Aussie dollar. But what really moved and took the real pole position yesterday on a dollar proxy play was the yen. We see here in this picture. Let me just pull this up. The yen broke through very strongly midday. Broke above the 122 level, and it punched through and it continued with a lot of strength right down to actually our first resistance mark of around 123.2. Needless to say, a lot of stops were activated down here, and this continued through for most of the day right into the evening. It's opening at the same sort of levels last night, hovering and trying to consolidate this big move upwards. We are seeing, if it closes here, for example, we are seeing a slight doji. Any breakup above this could actually push this forward to a much higher level, as we indicate here. It's consolidated in the last 5-6 months, so it's actually raring to go. And this move, this fast move, or rather, that long period of consolidation usually sets things up for a fast move. As you can remember, or as one may remember, this whole move down here from around the 108, rather 102 level in August took a long time to consolidate, and perhaps just now we may see this thing push through. The divergent policy between the US and Japan, the Japanese economy, clearly sets a compelling story for a weaker yen and ultimately a higher dollar yen level. Interestingly enough, we're not seeing a follow-through come through on Japanese stocks. Traditionally or usually or normally in normal times, when a weak yen or when a weak domestic currency takes place, you're going to see stronger equity prices. However, that's not being seen, but perhaps it's because it's just broken through or above the 20,275 level, which was a previous high. It's probably trying to find a base and trying to get used to being in this new territory. If we can see, a continued strength in the dollar yen, we may see this thing, continue in its uptrend. Anyhow, that uptrend still remains very much intact. Just a couple of names I want to pull up on the equity side, specifically Singapore shares. Singapore shares, including Neptune Orient Lines (NOL). Interestingly, it's been on a nice uptrend the last 4-5 months or so, and it's now hovering and testing this bottom range of its up channel. This doji here, sets things up for perhaps something more interesting to follow the next 2-3 days or so. And today, if it ends down here with this doji, it could mean that the next move out of this doji range of the high down here of around 106, or the low down here, or rather, no, sorry, not 106, but around 104. Well, let me get specific here. Of around 104.5 and a low of around 102.5. Any breakup from beyond this level could possibly set things off in this continued direction. So it's something I just want to draw attention to. Also, this morning we saw Noble, our favorite stock from that's not been actually covered for some time, break below that range. This range actually of around 102.5, 103, 82.5, 83 cents. Now, immediately after the breakdown, we saw this thing continue before pulling back up, which means that a lot of people who actually entered on the break may have been caught. Remains to be seen where this thing plays out, who the stronger hand would be, the buyers or the sellers. But certainly, because of the break, I think it's back on quite a few players' radars. So look out for it, and again, from any break sort of play, if it comes back into that previous sort of level, we could see this bounce very, 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 very strongly up ultimately. But if the sellers take control down here, then we may see this whole downtrend continue with possibly a test of the mid-70s range. But a couple of stocks, just to update you about and to have you put on your radars today. Meanwhile, China and the whole Chinese stocks, the whole slew of Chinese names and Chinese indices are starting to open again. Don't forget, today, tomorrow is the rollover date for your May futures, for your A50 especially. So you may want to actually look at it as some sort of adjustment, and perhaps some of the moves were because of that. Take care. Thank you.